First contact protocol. The anomaly appeared at the edge of Saturn's orbit without warning. One moment the space was empty. The next, it shimmered with a cascade of blue-green energy that warped the fabric of reality. Admiral Helena Kessler watched the spectacle from the bridge of the UN Dauntless, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. Tactical assessment, she ordered, voice calm despite the implications of an unannounced arrival in Sol space. Commander Raj Patel, her XO for the past 3 years, studied his console. Energy signature unlike anything in our database, Admiral. Definitely not human tech. Size suggests a vessel approximately 400 meters in length. No weapons signatures detected, but they're running some kind of energy field that's interfering with our DEET scans. Kessler nodded, steel-gray eyes narrowing slightly. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. First contact with an alien civilization. The theories, protocols, and simulations were about to face their ultimate test. Alert Earth Command. Initiate First Contact Protocol Alpha, and put the fleet on standby. Quiet alert only. No aggressive posturing. Yes, Admiral. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, their blue uniforms a blur of controlled motion. The UN Dauntless, flagship of Earth's Outer System Defense Fleet, maintained its position, weapons systems powered down but ready. 5 other warships in the fleet took up formation, creating a loose defensive perimeter around the anomaly while maintaining a respectful distance. Message incoming, text and audio format. Our linguistics AI is attempting to translate, announced Lieutenant Commander Garcia from Communications. Put it through, Kessler ordered. The main view screen flickered, displaying a stream of elegant, flowing symbols paired with musical tones that seemed to dance through the air. After a few seconds, the ship's eye overlaid a translation. Attention primitive vessel. The Valkyrie Imperium greets the inhabitants of this star system. Our diplomatic envoy approaches with peaceful intent. Prepare to receive our emissaries and witness the magnificence of superior civilization. A murmur ran through the bridge crew. Primitive. Kessler's mouth tightened into a thin line, but her voice remained professional. Send standard greeting package, visual representation of Earth's governments, basic cultural introduction, navigation protocols for Sol system. Add that we welcome peaceful contact and will approach for face-to-face communication. Aye, Admiral. Garcia's fingers danced across her console. Transmitted. The anomaly had fully materialized now into a sleek vessel that gleamed like polished opal under Saturn's distant light. Its hull flowed in organic curves with no visible seams, propulsion, or weapon systems. Delicate, wing-like structures extended from its sides, pulsing with soft light that painted the void in iridescent colors. "It's beautiful," whispered Ensign Takeda from the science station. "Pretty doesn't win battles," Kessler replied quietly. "Stay focused." Analysis. Hull appears to be some kind of crystalline composite. Admiral, they're using an unknown propulsion method. No reaction mass detected. Energy readings suggest a power source approximately equivalent to our mid-tier fusion reactors. Their communications array is broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Kessler processed this information with the analytical mind that had earned her command of Earth's flagship. So they've got fancy FTL travel and some exotic materials. Interesting, but not overwhelming. The alien vessel, which the translation now identified as the Luminous Harmony, approached slowly, its trajectory precise, but overly theatrical, as if designed to showcase the ship's graceful lines and gleaming hull. As it drew closer, panels along its sides opened, releasing clouds of colored particles that formed complex, shifting patterns in space. "They're putting on a light show," Commander Patel observed, one eyebrow raised. "Some cultures use displays of artistic achievement as a form of greeting," offered Dr. Eleanor Chen, the fleet's sinoanthropologist. "It could be their equivalent of a diplomatic flourish. Or they're showing off," Kessler replied. "Let's respond appropriately." Navigation. Execute approach pattern Delta. Communications, prepare the welcome delegation. I want representatives from military, science, and diplomatic corps ready in 30 minutes. As the Dauntless maneuvered toward the alien vessel, Earth Command's response arrived. First contact protocol authorized. President and Security Council monitoring. Diplomatic authority granted to Admiral Kessler, pending establishment of formal communication. Fleet assets moving to support positions throughout system. Good luck, Admiral. The meeting point was established in neutral space between Saturn and Jupiter. As the Dauntless approached, the alien vessel deployed what appeared to be a small docking extension, an elaborate structure of the same crystalline material as the main ship, fashioned into an intricate meeting chamber that sparkled with internal light. "They're inviting us aboard," said Commander Patel. "Negative," Kessler replied firmly. "First meeting happens on neutral ground or our territory. Standard protocol." After a brief exchange of messages, the aliens agreed to send representatives to the Dauntless. Their shuttle, a teardrop of luminescent material, departed the luminous harmony with the same theatrical grace as the main vessel, trailing wisps of colored light as it approached the human warship. Kessler stood in the main receiving bay alongside her senior staff and Earth's diplomatic representatives. The room had been specially designed for first contact scenarios, with various environmental settings that could accommodate different atmospheric requirements and gravity preferences. The bay doors slid open, revealing the alien delegation. The Valkyrie stood approximately 2 meters tall, their slender bodies covered in fine, iridescent scales that shifted color with each movement. Multiple limbs, 4 arms and 2 legs, moved with fluid grace as they entered the chamber. Their faces featured large, multifaceted eyes above a small mouth, with no visible nose or ears. Elaborate headdresses of what appeared to be living crystal adorned their elongated skulls, pulsing with the same colored light as their ship. "Greetings, residents of the third planet," announced the lead Valkyrie, its voice a melodious blend of tones translated by the ship's eye. "I am High Emissary Zelvoran of the Valkyrie Imperium, bearer of the crystal crown and voice of the seventh harmony. We bring the light of advanced civilization to your developing world." Admiral Kessler stepped forward, maintaining a diplomatic posture despite the condescension in the alien's words. "On behalf of the United Earth Nations, I welcome you to Sol System. I am Admiral Helena Kessler, commanding officer of the UEN Dauntless and representative of Earth's Combined Defense Force." The alien's eyes shifted, facets catching the light as it examined the humans. A military vessel for diplomatic greeting. How primitive, though I suppose it is to be expected from such a young species. Our scans indicate your technology is barely past the fusion stage. Dr. Chen stepped forward smoothly. "We're honored by the Valkyrie's interest in our development. Earth would be pleased to establish diplomatic relations and cultural exchange." "Yes, of course," Zelvoran replied, its upper limbs moving in a complex gesture that caused its headdress to shimmer with increased intensity. "The Imperium is well practiced in guiding developing species. Your world will benefit greatly from our patronage." Kessler caught Ambassador Rodriguez's eye, noting the slight tightening around the diplomat's mouth that matched her own irritation. The alien's condescension was becoming increasingly apparent. Before discussing any form of relationship, Rodriguez said carefully, "We should establish basic understanding of our respective civilizations. Perhaps a tour of our vessel would help you better understand humanity." "A quaint suggestion," Zelvoran replied. "But surely our time would be better spent aboard the Luminous Harmony, where you can observe true technological achievement. Your vessel appears functional but lacks the spiritual technological integration that defines advanced spacefaring species." Commander Patel shifted slightly beside Kessler, a subtle movement that she recognized as suppressed annoyance. She shared the sentiment but maintained her diplomatic composure. "We would be pleased to exchange tours," she said. "Learning begins with observation, after all." As the meeting continued, the Valkyrie delegation made little effort to hide their perceived superiority. They spoke of the Imperium's benevolent guidance of dozens of less developed species, their harmonious integration of technology and art, and their spiritual enlightenment that had led them to the stars millennia ago. What they didn't mention, and what Kessler carefully noted, was any concrete information about their military capabilities, the extent of their territory, or the specific benefits of this patronage they seemed eager to bestow. After 2 hours of increasingly circular conversation that yielded more platitudes than information, Kessler suggested a recess. The Valkyrie agreed, seemingly pleased with themselves, and returned to their shuttle with promises to host the human delegation aboard their vessel the following day. When the bay doors closed behind them, Kessler turned to her officers. "Impressions? They're hiding something," Commander Patel said immediately. "All that talk of spiritual advancement and technological harmony, but no specifics about their actual capabilities. Their body language suggests a genuine belief in their superiority," Dr. Chen added. "But I noted discomfort when you mentioned touring our weapons systems." They changed the subject immediately. Ambassador Rodriguez nodded. "Classic soft power approach. They're trying to establish a dominant position through cultural intimidation before any substantive negotiations begin." "My read exactly," Kessler agreed. "They've got impressive FTL technology and some interesting materials science, but I'm not convinced they're as advanced as they want us to believe." "Should we inform them of our actual technological capabilities?" asked Patel. Admiral Kessler considered this for a moment, then smiled slightly. "Not yet. I think it's better to let them maintain their assumptions for now. Tomorrow's tour should be educational for everyone involved." "Which vessel will they be touring, Admiral?" Rodriguez asked. "The Dauntless is our diplomatic flagship, Mr. Ambassador. But perhaps our visitors would also benefit from seeing the UN Thermopylae as well." Her smile widened slightly. "After all, if they want to understand humanity, they should see how seriously we take our defense." As the meeting disbanded, Admiral Kessler returned to the bridge, gazing out at the alien vessel glittering against the backdrop of Saturn's rings. Its beauty was undeniable, but beauty alone wasn't enough to navigate the dangerous reality of interstellar politics. "Status update from Fleet Command," Lieutenant Commander Garcia announced. "The Thermopylae battle group has entered the outer system and awaits your orders. They'll be in position by 600 tomorrow." "Excellent," Kessler replied. "Let's prepare a proper welcome for our guests. I think it's time the Valkyrie learned what primitive humans are truly capable of." Measures of power. Dawn in space was a technical term rather than a natural phenomenon, but Admiral Kessler had always appreciated the symbolism of beginning diplomatic ventures at the start of Earth's day cycle. As 600 hours approached, she stood in the Dauntless's observation deck, watching as the UN Thermopylae emerged from the shadow of Jupiter. Unlike the diplomatic-focused Dauntless, the Thermopylae was built for one purpose: war. Its angular hull was a stark contrast to the Valkyrie vessel's flowing lines, all function with minimal concession to form. Multiple weapon hardpoints bristled along its kilometer-long frame, and its reinforced armor plating bore the scars of previous conflicts with pirates and separatists at the edges of human space. "Impressive, isn't she?" Commander Patel joined her at the viewport. "The Thermopylae was my first command," Kessler replied, pride evident in her voice. "Humanity learned early that the universe doesn't reward the unprepared." "You think the Valkyrie will get the message?" "They'll either understand what they're looking at, or they won't. Either way, we'll learn something valuable about our new friends." She turned from the viewport. "Is the exchange delegation ready?" "Yes, Admiral. Lieutenant Zhao will lead our team aboard the Luminous Harmony. Dr. Chen and Chief Engineer McTavish will accompany her, along with 2 security personnel." "Good choices. And our visitors?" "Preparing to board now. Ambassador Rodriguez is escorting them personally." Kessler nodded. "I'll meet them in Docking Bay 3. Have Captain Okafor bring the Thermopylae to station keeping 5 kilometers off our port side. I want our guests to have a clear view when we take them across. The Valkyrie delegation appeared even more resplendent than the previous day. High Emissary Zelvorin's crystalline headdress had been augmented with additional structures that refracted light in complex patterns, and the delegation's robes shimmered with what appeared to be living circuitry. Admiral Kessler, the emissary's melodious voice, greeted her. "We are prepared to demonstrate the cultural and technological achievements of the Valkyrie. Our vessel awaits your representatives, and we're honored to host you aboard our vessels today." Kessler replied with calculated emphasis on the plural. "I hope you'll find our approach to spacefaring technology informative." As Lieutenant Zhao's team departed for the Luminous Harmony, Kessler personally led the Valkyrie delegation on a tour of the Dauntless. Their reactions to the human warship were a study in conflicting emotions, polite condescension mixed with occasional flashes of genuine curiosity. "Your propulsion systems are remarkably robust," observed Tayloran, the Valkyrie's chief engineer, as they toured the main engine room. The alien scales shifted to a contemplative blue-green as it examined the massive fusion reactors, though rather inelegant in their energy conversion efficiency. Chief Engineer McTavish would have bristled at such a comment, but Lieutenant Commander Jackson, who had remained aboard, simply nodded. "Our focus has been on reliability and power output rather than elegance. These reactors can run at 98% capacity for 5 years without maintenance." 5 years. Tayloran's multifaceted eyes widened slightly. "That is unexpected." As the tour continued through the ship's medical facilities, scientific laboratories, and crew quarters, Kessler noted how the Valkyrie's comments followed a pattern: initial dismissal followed by reluctant reassessment when they understood the practical applications of human technology. The most telling reaction came when they reached the bridge. High Emissary Zelvorin examined the command center with its multiple redundant systems, hardened interfaces, and battle stations. "Your vessel seems excessively focused on combat functions," the emissary observed. "The Valkyrie achieved peaceful integration with our neighboring species through cultural exchange, not military might. Humanity's history has taught us to hope for peace while preparing for less favorable outcomes," Kessler replied evenly. "But you're right that this vessel reflects our caution. Perhaps you'd care to see how we approach pure military design." Without waiting for a response, she gestured toward the main view screen, which now displayed the looming presence of the Thermopylae. The Valkyrie delegation fell silent, their scales collectively shifting to a pale lavender that Dr. Chen had identified as their equivalent of surprise. "This," Kessler continued, "is the UN Thermopylae, one of our dedicated defense vessels. I thought your delegation might appreciate seeing different aspects of human technology." The shuttle trip to the Thermopylae was conducted in conspicuous silence. As they approached the massive warship, the scale of the vessel became increasingly apparent. Where the Luminous Harmony emphasized aesthetic grace, the Thermopylae projected raw power, from its reinforced armor plating to its visible weapons arrays and the 4 massive engine blocks that propelled it through space. Captain Nadia Okafor, a tall woman with close-cropped hair and eyes that missed nothing, greeted them in the docking bay. Unlike the Dauntless's diplomatic reception area, the Thermopylae's bay was utilitarian, designed for rapid deployment of troops and equipment rather than welcoming visitors. "Welcome aboard," Okafor said crisply. "Admiral Kessler informs me you're interested in human approach to spacefaring technology. I'm authorized to provide you with a comprehensive tour of non-classified systems." High Emissary Zelvorin's headdress pulsed with rapid flickers of light, a sign of agitation, according to Dr. Chen's briefing. "This vessel appears significantly different from your diplomatic ship. The Dauntless is a multi-role vessel with diplomatic capabilities," Kessler explained. "The Thermopylae is a battleship designed specifically for fleet defense and power projection." "I see." The emissary's voice carried a new undertone that the translation software identified as caution. "We would be interested in understanding your design philosophy." The tour of the Thermopylae revealed a vessel that prioritized survivability, firepower, and operational endurance above all else. Captain Okafor led them through weapon control centers, shield generator rooms, and the massive central power core, 3 linked antimatter reactors that hummed with barely contained energy. "Your species utilizes antimatter reactions?" Tayloran asked, unable to hide a ripple of deep blue surprise across its scales. Such technology is typically restrained to scientific applications due to containment risks. "Our containment systems have redundancies built upon redundancies," Captain Okafor explained. "We've been using antimatter power in military vessels for 15 years without incident." The tour continued to the ship's primary weapon systems, railguns capable of accelerating projectiles to relativistic speeds, energy weapons that could slice through meters of armor plating, and missile bays housing warheads with yields measured in megatons. Throughout the demonstration, the Valkyrie delegation grew increasingly quiet, their earlier condescension replaced by what seemed to be dawning comprehension. The final stop was the Combat Information Center, a cavernous room where tactical officers monitored threat assessments, weapons readiness, and defensive systems. The walls displayed real-time data from sensors that extended throughout the solar system, creating a comprehensive tactical picture of space for hundreds of millions of kilometers in every direction. This vessel could engage targets from extreme distances, observed Carvex, the Valkyrie's military attaché, who had been noticeably silent until now. "Your targeting systems appear highly sophisticated." "The Thermopyla can track and engage multiple targets simultaneously at ranges exceeding 10 light seconds," Captain Okafor confirmed. "Though we prefer to resolve conflicts without violence whenever possible." High Emissary Zelvoran's headdress had dimmed considerably. "I begin to understand why your species emphasizes defensive capabilities. The void between stars can indeed be dangerous. It's always better to negotiate from a position of strength," Admiral Kessler agreed. "Now perhaps we should return to the Dauntless. I'm eager to hear about Lieutenant Zhao's impressions of your vessel." Meanwhile, aboard the Luminous Harmony, Lieutenant Sophia Zhao was experiencing a completely different approach to space travel. The Valkyrie ship's interior was as organic as its exterior. Corridors shaped from the same crystalline material flowed in graceful curves, illuminated by bioluminescent panels that adjusted their output based on the occupants' movements. "The ship's structure is a living extension of Valkyrie consciousness," explained Shavinar, their guide. "It responds to our needs and grows according to our collective will." "Fascinating," Dr. Chen replied, genuinely impressed. "Is the entire vessel biological?" "The fundamental matrix is crystalline organic," Shavinar said, gesturing at the flowing walls. "It integrates with our technological systems to create harmony between machine function and living intent." Chief Engineer McTavish ran a scanner over a nearby wall, eyebrows rising at the readings. "It's maintaining consistent internal temperature and filtering atmospherics without any visible mechanical systems. Impressive environmental engineering." The Valkyrie guide led them through chambers dedicated to scientific research, cultural archives, and what appeared to be artistic meditation spaces where crew members communed with flowing light patterns. The ship was beautiful, peaceful, and undeniably advanced in its biological integration. But Lieutenant Zhao's tactical mind was cataloging a different set of observations. "Where are your defensive systems located?" she asked during a pause in the tour. Shavanar's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "The Luminous Harmony is a diplomatic vessel. It carries minimal defensive capabilities, as befits a messenger of peace. But surely even diplomatic missions require protection." Zhao pressed. "The void can be unpredictable. The ship's crystalline matrix can absorb and redistribute energy impacts," the Valkyrie explained, leading them forward. "And our cultural significance provides protection of its own. Few would dare attack a Valkyrie envoy vessel." McTavish and Chen exchanged glances. Cultural significance as a defensive strategy was not something that would pass muster in human space. The tour continued to what Shavinar described as the heart chamber, apparently the Valkyrie equivalent of a bridge. Unlike the functional command centers of human vessels, this space was a soaring cathedral of crystal, where Valkyrie crew members stood at organic-looking interfaces that responded to touch, thought, and light patterns. Here we commune with the ship's consciousness to direct its journey, their guide explained. Navigation, communication, and ship functions are integrated through harmonic resonance. Impressive, Chen murmured, genuinely fascinated by the alien approach. But what happens in emergency situations, if systems are damaged or the crew incapacitated? The question seemed to perplex HFY. The ship maintains its own basic consciousness. It would seek to protect itself and its crew. Without specific tactical directives, Zhao asked. Combat is rarely necessary when enlightened communication is possible, replied the Valkyrie with what seemed like rehearsed certainty. As they were escorted to the ship's power generation chambers, McTavish's professional curiosity overcame his diplomatic restraint. Your entire vessel runs on biological energy production. Our crystal matrices channel cosmic energy through quantum resonance fields, HFY explained, gesturing to pulsing core structures that bathe the chamber in blue-green light. No crude fuel or reaction mass is required. Indeed, Zelvoran replied, headdress pulsing with muted colors. Humanity's approach to space travel contains unexpected elements. As does the Valkyrie approach, Kessler acknowledged. Lieutenant Zhao reports that your biological integration technologies are quite sophisticated. Zhao nodded. The living ship concept offers interesting advantages in environmental systems and crew interface. Yet your vessels seem extraordinarily focused on warfare, Tayloran observed, scales shifting to a troubled orange. Such emphasis on destructive capability seems at odds with enlightened space exploration. Commander Pottle leaned forward slightly. Our defensive capabilities reflect humanity's commitment to protecting what we value. Earth has faced internal conflicts that taught us harsh lessons about preparedness. The Valkyrie achieved harmony millennia ago, Zelvoran stated, though with less certainty than before. Our expansion among the stars has been mostly peaceful. Mostly, Ambassador Rodriguez inquired politely. A ripple of discomfort passed visibly through the Valkyrie delegation. There have been misunderstandings with certain species. Those who fail to appreciate the benefits of Valkyrie guidance sometimes require demonstration of our resolve. I see, Kessler said, her expression neutral but her mind cataloging the implications. Cultural differences can indeed lead to misunderstandings. A moment of silence fell over the conference room, broken when Carvex, the Valkyrie military attaché, spoke unexpectedly. Your Thermopylae vessel. It is a dedicated war machine of impressive capability. How many such vessels does humanity possess? The human delegation maintained carefully neutral expressions. Kessler allowed a small smile. The specific composition of Earth's defense forces is classified information, as I'm sure you understand. But rest assured, we maintain sufficient forces to protect our interests throughout human space. Of course, Zelvoran said quickly. Just as the Valkyrie Imperium maintains order through presence rather than constant demonstration of force. Perhaps, Kessler suggested, we might benefit from a more practical understanding of our respective capabilities. She leaned forward, hands clasped on the table. I propose a demonstration, a series of non-combat exercises to showcase the operational parameters of our vessels, speed, maneuverability, sensor range, and defensive capabilities. The Valkyrie exchanged glances, their scales shifting through patterns of color that the translation software couldn't interpret. A competition? Zelvoran finally asked. Think of it as a cultural exchange through demonstration, Ambassador Rodriguez suggested smoothly. Actions often communicate more clearly than words. After another moment of silent communication among themselves, the Valkyrie emissary nodded. The luminous harmony would be honored to demonstrate Valkyrie excellence. We accept this proposal. Excellent, Kessler replied. We'll have our technical teams establish parameters that showcase our respective strengths fairly. She rose from her seat, signaling the end of the meeting. I believe this will help both our species develop a more accurate understanding of each other. As the Valkyrie delegation departed for their shuttle, Commander Patel remained behind with the Admiral. They seemed considerably less condescending after touring the Thermopylae, he observed. Nothing clarifies thinking like the reality of superior firepower, Kessler replied. But I'm more interested in what they didn't say. Lieutenant Zhao's report suggests their diplomatic vessel has minimal offensive capabilities, yet they refer to demonstrations of resolve with uncooperative species. You think they have dedicated military vessels they haven't shown us? Almost certainly. The question is whether those vessels are as advanced as they want us to believe. She turned to face the viewport, where the crystalline form of the luminous harmony gleamed against the backdrop of space. Tomorrow's exercises should tell us a great deal about what we're really dealing with, and if they're holding back their true capabilities. Kessler's expression hardened slightly. Then we'll need to be very careful about what we reveal of ours. Trial by fire. The competition parameters had been established overnight by joint technical teams from both species. A series of exercises would test speed, maneuverability, sensor capabilities, and defensive systems, all without requiring actual combat or risking damage to either vessel. Admiral Kessler had insisted that the Thermopylae represent humanity in these exercises, noting that a fair assessment should showcase each civilization's military capabilities rather than diplomatic niceties. The Valkyrie had responded by summoning a second vessel from beyond the system's edge, the Crystal Ascendancy, which they described as a harmony enforcer. Its arrival had been another spectacular display of space-folding technology, the ship materializing near Jupiter's orbit in a cascade of energy that briefly outshone the distant sun. The Crystal Ascendancy was clearly a military vessel by Valkyrie standards, though it maintained the same aesthetic principles as the luminous harmony. Larger and more angular, its crystalline hull featured reinforced segments and what appeared to be weapon emplacements disguised as artistic embellishments. It was beautiful and intimidating, exactly the impression the Valkyrie clearly intended to project. Admiral Kessler and Commander Patel watched from the Dauntless's observation deck as final preparations were made for the exercises. The two competing vessels had taken position near the orbit of Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon providing a neutral backdrop for the demonstrations. The Crystal Ascendancy is considerably more combat-oriented than their diplomatic vessel, Patel observed. Those aren't just decorative features along its ventral ridge. Energy weapon emplacements, Kessler agreed, and what I'm guessing are launch tubes for some kind of projectile or drone system. Still emphasizing aesthetics over function, but definitely designed for conflict. Captain Okafor reports the Thermopylae is ready to begin exercises, Lieutenant Commander Garcia announced from behind them. The Valkyrie technical team has agreed to the monitoring protocols. All telemetry will be shared in real time with both command vessels. Excellent. Kessler turned from the viewport. Let's join our guests in the observation center. I want to see their reactions firsthand. The observation center had been converted into a joint command post for the exercises, with holographic displays showing multiple views of the competing vessels and real-time data feeds. The Valkyrie delegation, led by High Emissary Zelvorin, were already present, their scales shimmering with anticipation. Admiral Kessler, the emissary, greeted her. The Crystal Ascendancy stands ready to demonstrate the pinnacle of Valkyrie engineering. Commander Raycorvis, he indicated another Valkyrie, whose headdress featured military-style crystalline formations, oversees our harmony enforcement operations in this sector. Commander, Kessler acknowledged with a respectful nod. Captain Okafor and the Thermopylae are likewise prepared. Shall we begin with the acceleration tests? The first exercise was straightforward. From a standing start, each vessel would accelerate to maximum sublight speed, then perform a rapid deceleration to zero velocity. The Crystal Ascendancy went first, its propulsion system creating beautiful ripples of light as it surged forward. The Valkyrie vessel achieved impressive acceleration, reaching 0.22 C within minutes before gracefully slowing to a stop. Most efficient, Commander Ray Corvus commented, scales shifting to a confident purple. The harmonic drive allows for rapid acceleration without inertial stress on the crew or structure. Kessler nodded politely. Impressive performance. Now, let's see what the Thermopylae can do. When Captain Okafor engaged the human battleship's main drives, the contrast in approach was immediately apparent. Where the Valkyrie vessel had accelerated with elegant light displays, the Thermopylae's massive antimatter engines produced a concentrated fusion torch that propelled the vessel forward with brutal efficiency. The acceleration curve displayed on the holographic monitors climbed steeply, quickly surpassing the Valkyrie vessel's maximum. Within 2 minutes, the Thermopylae had reached 0.35 C and was still accelerating. A ripple of surprise passed through the Valkyrie delegation, their scales shifting to shades of blue and green that Dr. Chen had associated with astonishment. Captain Okafor reports they're at 75% engine capacity. Commander Patel announced casually. Shall she proceed to maximum acceleration? That won't be necessary for this demonstration, Kessler replied, noting the Valkyrie's reaction. Please have her proceed to the deceleration phase. The Thermopylae's deceleration was equally impressive, massive reverse thrusters firing to bleed off velocity at a rate that would have liquefied any crew not protected by advanced inertial dampening systems. Within moments, the massive battleship had come to a complete stop, then rotated on its axis with unexpected agility for a vessel of its size. Your vessel's propulsion systems are quite powerful, Commander Ray Corvus acknowledged, the translator capturing a note of stiffness in the alien's voice. Efficiency sometimes requires raw power, Admiral Kessler replied diplomatically. Shall we proceed to the maneuverability tests? The second exercise involved navigating a complex course marked by sensor buoys. Here, the Valkyrie vessel's more elegant design provided a clear advantage. The crystal ascendancy moved through the course with fluid grace, its crystalline structure seeming to flex as it executed tight turns and precision movements that would have challenged any human vessel. When the Thermopylae took its turn, it couldn't match the Valkyrie ship's agility in the tightest maneuvers. However, Captain Okafor demonstrated impressive skill, using measured bursts from the battleship's maneuvering thrusters to guide the massive vessel through the course with methodical precision. What the human ship lacked in grace, it made up for in controlled power. Different design philosophies, Kessler commented as the exercise concluded. The Valkyrie approach emphasizes elegant movement, while human vessels prioritize thrust-to-mass ratios and tactical positioning. High Emissary Zelvoran's headdress pulsed with slightly brighter colors than before. Indeed, each approach has its merits in different contexts. The next test, sensor capabilities, proved more evenly matched. The Valkyrie vessel deployed sensor arrays that utilized exotic particles to create a detailed picture of surrounding space, while the Thermopylae's more conventional but heavily refined sensor suite demonstrated comparable range and resolution through brute processing power and multiple redundant systems. As the exercises progressed, a pattern emerged that both delegations could observe. Valkyrie technology emphasized elegance, efficiency, and biological integration, while human engineering focused on raw power, redundancy, and combat effectiveness. Neither approach was uniformly superior, but they reflected fundamentally different priorities and experiences. The final scheduled exercise was perhaps the most revealing: defensive capabilities. By mutual agreement, each vessel would deploy its defensive systems against a series of harmless test projectiles launched from the observation vessels. The crystal ascendancy went first, activating what appeared to be an energy field that enveloped its crystalline hull in a shimmering aura. As the test projectiles approached, the field pulsed with increasing intensity, creating interference patterns that diverted or disintegrated most of the incoming objects. Those few that penetrated were absorbed by the crystalline hull itself, which visibly rippled to distribute the impact energy. The Harmony Shield converts kinetic energy to harmonic resonance, Commander Ray Corvus explained. And our living hull can absorb significant impacts without structural compromise. Fascinating approach, Admiral Kessler acknowledged. Very different from our methodology. When it was the Thermopyla's turn, Captain Okafor demonstrated a layered defensive strategy. First, a point defense system intercepted incoming projectiles with precision energy pulses. Then, a conventional energy shield absorbed those that got through. Finally, for the few objects permitted to impact, the battleship's armor plating simply endured the strikes without visible effect. Redundant systems, Kessler explained. Defense in depth has been a human military principle for centuries. The exercise was nearly complete when Commander Paddle received an urgent communication. After a brief conversation, he approached Admiral Kessler with concern evident in his expression. Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from the research outpost on Europa. They report an unidentified vessel has entered orbit and is deploying smaller craft toward the surface. Kessler's expression hardened immediately. Put it on the main display. The holographic projection shifted to show a grainy image captured by Europa's limited defensive sensors. A dark, angular vessel of unfamiliar design had taken up position over the research station, while smaller craft descended toward the moon's icy surface. Not one of ours, Kessler confirmed grimly. And definitely not Valkyrie design. High Emissary Zell Voren moved closer, scales shifting to an alert orange. This vessel matches no known configuration in our database either. The Europa outpost has minimal defensive capabilities, Commander Paddle reported. 43 scientific personnel. Standard emergency protocols, but no military presence. How long to get the Thermopylae there? Kessler asked. At maximum acceleration, 27 minutes. Kessler turned to the Valkyrie commander. Commander Ray Corvus, your vessel appeared to have superior maneuverability. What would be your response time to Europa? The Valkyrie military leader's scales rippled with rapid color changes as it communicated with its vessel. The crystal ascendancy could reach Europa in 19 minutes using emergency propulsion protocols. Those are human researchers down there, Kessler said. But this unidentified vessel presents a potential threat to all parties in this system. I propose a joint response. Commander Ray Corvus's multifaceted eyes studied the Admiral for a moment before responding. Agreed. The Valkyrie Imperium does not tolerate interference with diplomatic proceedings or unauthorized aggression in shared space. Captain Okafor, Kessler activated her communication link. Proceed to Europa at maximum speed. Coordinate approach with the crystal ascendancy. Unknown vessel is to be challenged and identified. Weapons hot, but no firing without authorization. Understood, Admiral, came the immediate response. Thermopylae moving to intercept. On the holographic display, both vessels broke from their exercise positions and accelerated toward Jupiter's moon. The Valkyrie ship pulling ahead with its superior initial acceleration, but the human battleship's raw power allowing it to gradually close the distance. We should return to our vessels, High Emissary Zell Voren stated. This unauthorized intrusion requires proper diplomatic and military response. Agreed, Kessler nodded. Commander Patel, have the Dauntless prepare to follow. Ambassador Rodriguez, please coordinate with Earth Command. I want reinforcements dispatched from the inner system fleet as a precaution. As the observation center emptied, Dr. Chen approached the Admiral. This is an interesting development, she said quietly. First contact with humanity, and another unknown species appears almost immediately. The timing is suspicious, Kessler agreed, but it also provides an opportunity to see how the Valkyrie respond to a genuine crisis rather than a choreographed demonstration. Aboard the Thermopylae, Captain Okafor stood on the bridge, watching as Jupiter grew rapidly larger on the main view screen. The massive gas giant dwarfed everything around it, its swirling clouds and famous red spot visible even at this distance. Europa, their destination, was just a small bright point gradually resolving into a disk. Tactical assessment, she ordered. Unknown vessel maintains orbit over Europa Research Station. Lieutenant Commander Nassar reported from the tactical station. Mass readings suggest a ship approximately 600 meters in length. Power signature indicates fusion or similar technology. Multiple smaller craft have landed near the research facility, but we're not detecting weapons fire or explosions. A boarding action rather than orbital bombardment. Okafor observed. They want something from the station. Or someone, added her XO, Commander Rivera. Europa is primarily a xenobiology research facility. They've been studying microbial life forms found beneath the ice. Crystal Ascendancy is hailing us. Communications reported. Put them through. The image of Commander Ray Corvus appeared on a secondary display. The Valkyrie officer's scales had shifted to a deep blue that the human's translation software couldn't interpret. Captain Okafor, the alien's melodious voice contained new undertones of urgency. Our sensors have identified the unknown vessel. It bears energy signatures consistent with the Krell consortium. I'm not familiar with that designation, Okafor replied. The Krell are a mercantile species from a system 30 light-years rimward of Valkyrie space, Ray Corvus explained. They are known for resource extraction operations and acquisition of technological assets through various means. Pirates, Okafor translated flatly. A crude but not inaccurate description, the Valkyrie commander acknowledged. They typically avoid Valkyrie enforcement vessels, but may not recognize your vessel's capabilities. Then we should make those capabilities very clear, Okafor replied. I propose a coordinated approach. Your vessel has superior communication systems. Can you attempt to establish contact while we maneuver to cut off their retreat path? The Valkyrie commander's scales shifted through several color patterns before settling on a decisive crimson. An efficient strategy. The crystal ascendancy will approach from the sunward side and demand their immediate withdrawal. If they refuse, we will coordinate further action. As the communication ended, Commander Rivera raised an eyebrow. They adapted to a tactical situation rather quickly for a species that claims to resolve everything through cultural superiority. Notice they didn't object to us positioning for potential combat, Okafor replied. I suspect the Valkyrie Imperium maintains its harmony through more practical means than they advertise. The two vessels separated as they approached Europa, the crystal ascendancy decelerating to take up position between the Moon and Jupiter, while the Thermopylae swung in a wider arc to approach from Europa's far side, effectively cutting off the intruder's most direct escape route. As they closed within weapons range, the mysterious vessel finally reacted. It broke orbit abruptly, smaller craft rapidly returning to its hangar base as it accelerated away from the Moon. They're making a run for it, Nassar reported. Current trajectory suggests they're attempting to slingshot around Jupiter toward the outer system. Crystal Ascendancy is transmitting wide-spectrum communications demanding they heave to. Communications reported. No response from the target vessel. Interesting that they're running rather than fighting, Okafor observed. Suggests they recognize they're outmatched. What's the status of the research station? Receiving emergency transmissions, Rivera reported after checking the secondary console. Station reports armed intruders breached the main research level and accessed the secure data cores. 4 casualties reported, non-fatal. The attackers withdrew when they detected our approach. So they got what they came for and ran. Okafor's expression darkened. Tactical. Target their propulsion systems. Disabling shots only. Crystal Ascendancy is firing, Nassar announced suddenly. Energy weapons targeting the Krell vessel's engines. On the main view screen, pulses of coherent energy lanced from the Valkyrie warship toward the fleeing vessel. The shots were precise, too precise to be warning shots, and struck the intruder's engine section, causing visible damage as crystalline energy played across its hull. They're not messing around, Rivera muttered. The Valkyrie take their enforcement seriously, Okafor replied. Target locked. Affirmative, Captain. Main rail guns have solution on target's propulsion systems. Fire. The Thermopylae's main railguns discharged with controlled precision, electromagnetically accelerated projectiles crossing the distance to the target in seconds. The impacts were visibly devastating. Chunks of the intruder's engine housing sheared away, venting atmosphere and debris into space. The vessel's acceleration dropped immediately to minimal thrusters. Direct hits, NASA reported. Target vessel's main propulsion is offline. They're running on auxiliaries only. Crystal Ascendancy is hailing the disabled vessel, communications announced. They're demanding immediate surrender and boarding rights. The Krell vessel, now effectively crippled between the two warships, had little choice. After a brief delay, it transmitted surrender codes and powered down its remaining systems. The Valkyrie commander is requesting joint boarding operations, communications reported. Their scans indicate the Krell have partially purged their data systems. Inform Commander Ray Corvus that we'll coordinate boarding teams, Okafor ordered. I want our people on that ship to secure whatever information they stole from the research station. As preparations for boarding began, Captain Okafor received a direct communication from Admiral Kessler aboard the approaching Dauntless. Well handled, Captain. The Admiral's voice conveyed quiet approval. The Valkyrie responded more aggressively than their diplomatic posturing would suggest. Yes, Admiral. They targeted propulsion with lethal precision, not the actions of a civilization unused to combat operations. Exactly my assessment. This incident has revealed more about our new friends than all their fancy light shows and aesthetic demonstrations. Continue the joint operation, but maintain security protocols. I want to know exactly what these Krell were after and why they showed up precisely when we were distracted with first contact proceedings. You suspect a connection. Let's just say the timing is convenient enough to warrant investigation. Keep me informed, Captain. Kessler out. As the communication ended, Okafor gazed at the disabled pirate vessel on the main view screen. What had begun as a diplomatic exercise had quickly evolved into a combat operation, and revealed that beneath their veneer of cultural superiority, the Valkyrie were quite capable of decisive military